Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive? Today, we're going to be taking a look at Bitcoin's Lightning Network.
Ooh, yeah.
Um, that tech that's kind of aiming to make Bitcoin transactions like super fast
Yes.
and cheap enough for everyday use, right?
Right.
I think a lot of people are curious about, can we actually use Bitcoin to buy like a cup of coffee?
Yes.
So we've got some excerpts from a piece titled Eingeführter Text
Okay.
that really kind of unpacks this whole thing.
Cool. So yeah, the Lightning Network, it really is a potential game changer.
Okay.
But you see Bitcoin, as revolutionary as it is, it's always kind of had this regalability problem.
Right.
It just wasn't designed to handle like the sheer volume of transactions you see, with traditional payment systems.
Yeah, like if you think about, I think Visa processes like 47,000 transactions per second
Yeah, that's
at peak times.
crazy.
Bitcoin's not quite there yet.
Not even close.
Yeah.
And that's where the Lightning Network steps in. It's what's called a layer 2 solution, basically. And it's built on top of the main Bitcoin blockchain. So think of it like this.
Okay.
The main blockchain, that's like the highway, right? Always clogged with traffic.
Uh-huh.
The Lightning Network. Think of that like a network of side roads,
Okay.
allowing for these like smaller, faster transactions to just kind of bypass all that congestion.
Okay, I like that analogy.
Yeah.
So instead of every single transaction needing to be recorded on that main blockchain,
Yeah.
the Lightning Network is kind of letting these little side transactions happen,
Yeah.
and then they settle up later.
Exactly. So these side roads, we call them payment channels. So two parties, they can open a channel, they lock in some Bitcoin, and then they can make tons of these tiny little micropayments back and forth, all off the main blockchain. And then when they're done, they just settle the final balance on the main blockchain.
So you're saying it's like opening a tab at a coffee shop.
Yes.
You make like multiple purchases, but you only settle the bill at the end.
Exactly. That is a great way to put it. And this is what it does. It brings the speed and low cost, like cash transactions,
Right.
to the world of Bitcoin.
Makes sense.
Yeah, this is particularly huge for small businesses and micropayments, things that just weren't really feasible on the main Bitcoin network before.
Yeah, I see. I see. Okay, so who came up with this? Like, was it some, like, Silicon Valley tech whiz?
It's interesting, actually, the whole concept of payment channels, we can kind of trace that back to the very early days of Bitcoin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, some people believe that even Satoshi Nakamoto, Bitcoin's mysterious creator,
Right.
might have even alluded to this idea way back when.
Wow.
But it wasn't really until 2015 that Thaddeus Strija and Joseph Poon, they published this paper outlining the Lightning Network, like as we know it today.
Wow, so Satoshi's fingerprints are on this.
Potentially.
That's pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Okay, so these researchers, they like laid the foundation,
Right.
but who actually like started building it?
So in 2016, Strija and Poon, along with some other, brilliant minds, they founded Lightning Labs.
Okay.
And they're the ones who really kind of got the ball rolling in terms of like developing and implementing the Lightning Network. And they had a major breakthrough in 2017 with Bitcoin's SegWit upgrade.
Wait, SegWit, that was a big deal in Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Like, didn't that cause a bit of a stir in the community?
Oh, it did. It did. It was it was a pretty big technical change that essentially freed up space on the blockchain, made it more efficient.
Right.
Without getting like too technical, SegWit was absolutely crucial for making the Lightning Network more scalable and robust.
So SegWit kind of cleared the way for Lightning to really like take off.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so by the end of 2017, developers were already building apps on the Lightning Network, wallets, gaming platforms, all sorts of things.
Wow.
And then in 2018, the beta version, it officially launched on the Bitcoin mainnet.
That must have been exciting for the crypto community.
Yeah.
I remember like hearing about Jack Dorsey, the founder of Twitter. Was he a big supporter of Lightning?
Oh, huge proponent. Yeah, huge proponent. He even, I think he hired some developers to work on Lightning integration for Twitter.
Right.
We haven't quite seen that come to fruition just yet, though.
It's interesting how someone like him, who's like so at the forefront of the tech world,
Yeah.
is so bullish on this technology. It makes you wonder if this is the key to unlocking Bitcoin's true potential.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, it certainly has the potential to really change the way we think about, money and payments.
Right.
But just like with any new technology, there are, of course, pros and cons to consider.
Yeah.
And that's what we'll be diving into next.
All right. So we've laid some groundwork here We understand what the Lightning Network is, how it works, a little bit of the history.
Yeah.
But let's get down to, like, the brass tacks. What are the benefits of actually using this thing?
Yeah, so I think the most noticeable benefit, like right away, is the speed.
Okay.
We're talking near instantaneous transactions.
Wow.
Remember that coffee shop example?
Yeah.
Like, no more waiting for those blockchain confirmations.
Mhm.
It's just like paying with cash, but with Bitcoin.
Yeah, that speed is pretty appealing. Who wants to wait, forever to just buy a cup of coffee?
Exactly. And then there's the cost factor, right?
Yeah.
Fees on the Lightning Network are ridiculously low,
Uh-huh.
often fractions of a penny. And this is what makes those micropayments actually, like, viable.
Right.
Imagine being able to tip content creators online with a few Satoshis or, paying for a single article on a news website without any hassle.
Oh, yeah, I can see how that would open up, like, a whole world of possibilities.
Yeah.
Suddenly, paying for, like, online content, even, like, small subscriptions,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
becomes a lot more realistic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And let's not forget the added privacy benefits too.
Oh, right, yeah.
With Lightning, it's only the final balance of that payment channel that gets recorded on the blockchain,
Okay.
not all those little individual transactions within the channel.
So, like, someone's looking at the blockchain, they can't see every single coffee I buy.
Correct. They would just see that initial, opening of the channel and then the final clothing balance.
Right.
So this gives you, a lot more privacy than transacting directly on the main Bitcoin blockchain.
Oh, okay, so that's a win for privacy advocates.
Yeah.
And of course, it's built on Bitcoin, so you still have the security of the blockchain, right?
Exactly. Your funds are ultimately secured by, the same cryptographic principles that make Bitcoin so secure. You get that speed and flexibility of those off-chain transactions, but with the peace of mind that comes with, Bitcoin's security.
Okay, I'm starting to see why people are so excited about this. But you mentioned earlier that there are, some drawbacks we got to consider too.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges that that the Lightning Network is facing right now?
Well, I think one of the biggest hurdles is still the ease of use.
Okay.
Setting up and using a Lightning wallet, it's not quite as straightforward as a normal Bitcoin wallet.
Right.
It requires a bit more, technical know-how, which can be kind of a barrier for a lot of people.
Yeah. So it's not quite plug and play just yet.
Not for everyone, no. There are some, really user-friendly wallets emerging, but it's definitely an area that needs, more work.
Okay, and what about those offline scams you mentioned? Like where someone closes the channel and runs off with the funds while the other person's offline.
Yeah, that is a risk, and it's something that the community is really, working hard to address.
Okay.
So the development of watchtowers is a promising solution.
What are those?
So basically, these are like third-party services that can kind of monitor your payment channel,
Okay.
and they can prevent that type of fraudulent activity.
So they're like a security guard for your Lightning channels.
Exactly. Yeah, an extra layer of protection, but it's important to remember that technology is always evolving.
Right.
New challenges, they're going to pop up.
Yeah, so it's like with any new technology, there are always going to be some kinks to work out.
Exactly.
Are there any other like technical challenges that are particularly, concerning right now?
Yeah, so there's this issue of stuck payments,
Okay.
which can happen occasionally, and this is where a payment, it kind of gets held up in the network,
Uh-huh.
and it can take a while to resolve. It's not super common, but it can be annoying when it happens.
So while it is, very fast generally,
Yeah.
there's still a chance that things could, go wrong.
Yeah, and that's true for, any network, really. The good news is that the developers are constantly working, to improve that stability,
Yeah.
reliability of the Lightning Network.
Okay, so we've got ease of use, we've got some technical issues to work out.
Right.
But what about the bigger picture? How are like governments and regulators viewing this technology?
Yeah, that is a great question and probably the biggest unknown right now.
Okay.
The regulatory landscape for crypto in general,
Right.
it's still very much, in flux. And Lightning adds a kind of a unique layer to that whole thing.
Yeah.
Some governments, they might see it as like a threat to their control
Right.
over financial systems.
Makes sense.
Others might embrace the potential for innovation.
Right. So it's a bit of a like wait and see at this point.
I think so, yeah. I think Lightning's future is really going to hinge on not just the tech,
Okay.
but also how it's perceived and regulated by governments around the world.
All right. So we've talked about the benefits, some of the challenges, this uncertain regulatory landscape.
Yeah.
But what does it all mean for the future of Lightning?
Yeah.
Will it become like the go-to payment system for Bitcoin, or will it just, fizzle out?
Yeah.
That's what we'll explore in part 3 of our deep dive. Okay, so we've really covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, we have.
We talked about how lightning works, the benefits, the challenges, but I guess the big question in my mind is, where does this all go from here? What is the future of the Lightning Network?
Well, trying to predict the future, that's always kind of a risky business, right? Especially in tech.
Yeah, for sure.
But one thing that I do think is really interesting is just like the momentum that Lightning has,
Okay,
even despite, those challenges we talked about.
right.
It's not just some theoretical idea anymore.
Yeah, we can't forget that over $110 million is locked in this network right now.
Right.
That's got to be a pretty strong indicator that people are starting to take this seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. And that number's climbing. What we're seeing is like this whole ecosystem emerging around Lightning.
Okay.
So more and more wallets and exchanges are becoming compatible.
Uh-huh.
It's making it easier for people to actually use it, which of course means more liquidity,
Right.
which means faster transactions and even lower fees.
Right. So it's like that. It's like a snowball effect.
Exactly,
The
yeah.
more people use it,
Yeah.
the better it gets, which attracts new users.
Yeah, the classic network effect.
Right.
And I think that's one of the most, compelling arguments for its long-term success. But of course, ease of use and security, those are still like paramount.
Right.
We can't expect mass adoption if, the average person's going to find it too complicated or too risky to use.
Right. And we talked about those watchtowers that are being developed, to address some of those security concerns.
Yeah.
Do you think those could be a game changer in terms of like building trust?
I think they have the potential, yeah. I mean, if they can provide that safeguard, right, against those offline scams,
Yeah.
it removes like one of the biggest barriers to entry for a lot of people.
Makes sense.
And as the technology matures and these security measures get more robust, I think we're going to see even more people willing to give it a shot.
It's interesting to think about the potential impact of all this.
Yeah,
If we kind of like zoom out, look at the bigger picture,
yeah,
could this actually change the way we use Bitcoin?
yeah.
Could it become the the payment system for everyday transactions? Like a
Right.
lot of people initially, envisioned it.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly the hope for a lot of the proponents. Imagine a world where, you're seamlessly paying for your coffee in the morning,
Right.
microtransactions within apps and games,
Right.
even online content using Bitcoin, and it wouldn't just be individuals.
Right.
Businesses could be using it for like micropayments, subscriptions,
Right.
even like international remittances with, super low fees.
It sounds almost too good to be true,
I know.
but, let's be realistic. Even if the technology delivers on all these promises, there's still that question of regulation.
Right.
Governments around the world are still trying to figure out how to deal with cryptocurrency
Yeah.
in general, and then Lightning adds this whole other, layer of complexity on top of that.
Absolutely.
So the future of the Lightning Network, maybe even, Bitcoin itself, it depends not just on overcoming these technical challenges,
Right.
but also like navigating this complex world of, geopolitics
Yeah.
regulation.
It really highlights how like intertwined technology and policy are these days.
It really does. But ultimately, the success of Lightning, just like any technology, really, it's going to depend on the users.
Yeah.
Will people see the value? Will they adopt it?
Yeah.
Integrate it into their lives?
Right. And that's where you, our listener, come in. We've given you the information, the history, the potential, the challenges. Now we want to leave you with this final thought. Do you believe that the Lightning Network could be the key to unlocking mainstream adoption of Bitcoin? Or will those complexities and that uncertain regulatory landscape, will that be too much to overcome? We've given you a lot to think about today, but hopefully this deep dive has equipped you with a better understanding of the Lightning Network.
Yeah. Its potential, to revolutionize how we use Bitcoin, and also the real challenges that it faces.
The story of the Lightning Network, it's still being written.
Right.
The ending is far from certain.
Yeah,
But it's definitely a fascinating journey to watch unfold.
it is. So stay informed, stay curious, and maybe, just maybe, you'll be part of shaping the future of this exciting technology. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of the Lightning Network.